Solo Sikoa shifting back into swaggy Solo, but he's still kind of scary Solo as well. He's becoming scary, swaggy Solo, and it's really impressive, the command that he has developed of the audience. This is a guy, not only, a lot of people are going, man, he's improved a lot since April. April, I wasn't sure about what was going on, but now he's playing on a different level. And that's true. But I think you also have to take into account that this guy had he's a young guy. And just a few years ago, he had no experience, and now he's holding the audience in the palm of his hand like very few performers have the ability to do. Maybe it's a little trial by fire. Maybe it's one of those sink or swim scenarios where it's like, Solo, we're going to pull you up pretty quickly from NXT, and we're going to throw you right into the Bloodline. And everywhere that you go, you're going to be around Roman Reigns, and you're going to be around the Usos. And maybe most importantly, you're going to be around Paul Heyman. And these superstars are there for you to collect knowledge from, collect information from, collect advice from. And hopefully you'll be able to find yourself at a rate that accelerated isn't even the right word for it. It's going so fast. And I think that's where we're at with Solo Sikoa going in and immediately the fact that he refers to the promo that Roman Reigns cut about, tribal combat. When he says, you're talking in front of your little boat, just like, when we're watching, we're going, man, look how well Roman Reigns is doing for himself. He's got himself a boat. He's standing at the dock. He's got the wise man behind him. You remember last week, I was describing this promo, and I specifically brought up the boat. But the minute you refer to a boat as your little boat, it's almost like you're a child, and this is your toy. It's almost like now it's Roman Reigns, and he's getting into the bathtub and bringing his little boat with him. Look, here comes the boat. Stand in front of your little boat. He said it twice, your little boat. And I'm like, oh. Solo immediately takes the steam out of it and brings it right back to him. Then the crowd starts whatting him. And Solo completely leans into the what's. He's aware of where he's at. First, he changes his cadence so that the what's are actually effective. Instead of going like, don't what me, which is, that's the first step. When you're first kind of learning how to deal with a crowd that's not going your way, that would be your response. Don't what me. But Solo starts taking pauses. So the what's actually accentuate the things that he's saying. And then when it's time to realize that we're not on the same page here, get a little heat for himself, he says, everybody's saying what? You need to acknowledge me. Then he does it again. He's playing with the what's again. Jimmy Uso, what? Jey Uso, what? And then when it's time for him to really deliver his message, go back and watch that promo from SmackDown. He starts changing his cadence. And going back, Stone Cold Steve Austin has addressed this in multiple interviews. I remember I interviewed Stone Cold. Maybe he was promoting 2K15. Maybe it was 10 years ago, maybe more, who knows? And I brought up the what chance then, and he said then, and he said in many interviews many times since, the trick is to not let them have it. That if you don't want what's to be thrown into your promos, don't leave rhythmic spaces to make yourself more comfortable with your pattern of speech. If you don't talk like this when you cut a promo, there won't be gaps for people to say, and I'm sure you've been saying what as I've been talking. And that can be a much more difficult thing to do when you're actually in the ring, knowing that you're on live television in front of millions of people, in an arena with tens of thousands of people surrounding you. But Solo Sikoa first leans into the what's and then quickly changes his speech pattern so that those gaps aren't there anymore, or they're shorter, So you want to challenge me? You want to challenge me to a world title match? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. See, those little so you can't go, there's no space. There might be space for one what, but nobody wants to do one what. They want to repeatedly do it. Solo takes control again. And it's amazing seeing somebody who's not only good at conveying this message with his words, because also you look at the Bloodline, and Solo went from being the guy in the Bloodline who speaks to being the only guy Or Solo went from being the guy in the Bloodline who doesn't speak to being the only guy in the Bloodline who speaks. You've got Tama Tonga, who will give you a shh. Yeah. You got Jacob Fatu that'll hit you with a...
I love you, Solo!
But when it comes time to tell the story with words, Solo Sikoa is on an island. And he really has made the most of it. So, he accepts Roman Reigns' challenge for tribal combat. He doesn't seem worried about it. He says once again, you leave your bloodline at home, I'll leave my bloodline at home, and we'll be good. Now, of course, do we believe this? No, we do not believe this at all. This has been said many times. There will be no bloodline. There always is a bloodline. There is no leaving the bloodline at home. First of all, because it wouldn't make sense in terms of strategy. Second of all, because this is how you travel. You always travel in an entourage. And third of all, you think Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, the Usos, Sami Zayn, you think any of them are missing the premiere of Raw on Netflix? I don't think so. Hey, Jacob. Yeah, no. This is like the biggest show WWE has done in a long time. This is the show that they've been hyping as putting everybody on the next level. You can watch. Here's my Netflix password. I don't think so. I think Jacob will probably be in the building. Now, there were rumors that were going all over the place, and this is not the show for that. If you want, there are plenty of YouTube channels, there are plenty of podcasts that will get into any little, like, the minute something pops up as a Facebook post with an infographic that says WWE has been discussing, and there's no credit to a source. Like the further back you search this information, the further back you're just seeing posts about posts about posts about posts, which is why we normally don't get into the stuff on this show, because more often than not, it's either wrong or half true or whatever it is. But this week's post of a post of a post of a post was that they were considering making the Tribal Chief Championship an actual championship, that the Ulafala wouldn't be enough, that they would design a championship belt that would be awarded to the Tribal Chief. And on paper, I would go like, why would the Tribal Chief need a championship title? They would have an Ulafala. It's like a thing. It's a real thing based on culture and tradition and stuff. Other than, number one, maybe they want to sell some replica titles, and number two, maybe who's ever holding that title is going to go title for title with the People's Championship title that The Rock holds. I mean, I get it. UFC has the BMF Championship, which doesn't actually mean anything, but it's a thing that gets added in. Look, what do I think of it? I don't think of it. I'll think of it if it becomes a thing, then I'll think of it, and I'll think of it how it gets executed on television. Right? What do I think of it based on unsubstantiated infographics on Facebook? I don't. What will I think of it in use? I don't know. Let's see if it's actually a thing or just something on Facebook infographics. But I do think that it's interesting that in the beginning, it felt like The Rock had a huge possibility of interfering in this tribal combat match. And I think that he still does. But now Drew McIntyre, I think, is just as likely, if not more likely, to either also or instead of, as well as or instead of The Rock, interfere in this match that's going to happen on the Netflix Raw.